Today is Tuesday, March 29th, and today's invocation will be given by Reverend Amy Walker of Wesley Foundation Campus Ministry at Lamar University. Will you please come forward? Everyone, if you so choose, please stand. Please silence your cell phones. And please remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Let us pray. Holy Spirit, come and be present amongst us. Father God, we thank you, Lord, for giving us another day of life and another day of breath. Lord, we ask that you help us to be intentional in the way that we glorify you and your kingdom. Today, during this council meeting, we lift up all that are here. That all those that are here today that need to be heard, leave feeling like they were heard, Lord. That they know they are part of a change, of a difference that is coming. Lord, that those who are listening are able to tune out all of the things that are going on in the world and in their lives, and to be able to truly hear what you need them to receive today. God, we lift up our servicemen and women as well, and all of our emergency response team as they are all out protecting us, fighting for us. God, we ask for protection for them. Lord, we pray all of these things in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Please join us in our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have the roll call, please?
Mayor Mouton.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Samuel. Present. Councilmember Durio.
Here.
Councilmember Getz.
Present.
Councilmember Turner.
Present.
Councilmember Felshaw absent, and Councilmember Neal.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Felshaw is on his way. He's running a little behind. Thank you. So today we have one presentation by the Audit Committee, and we have one proclamation. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with our audit. And Mr. Semino, would you please introduce the audit firm, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Before I introduce the audit firm, I'd like to introduce some of my staff that works on the audit team and thank them for all their help. The audit team is led by Kristen Ferguson, the city controller, and supporting her is Janice Ridley, Angie Breeden, Courtney Talmadge, Bailey Thompson, and Victoria Sleds. For 35 years, the city of Beaumont receives a certificate of achievements for excellence in financial reporting for the Government Finance Officers Association. There's not a lot of entities that receive this certification, and 35 years in a row is pretty good, so I just wanted to thank the staff. With that said, I'll ask Patrick Simmons, he's a CPA and partner with Whitley Penn, based out of Houston, to come up and give the audit report. And I just want to thank him and his staff and his firm for all the help and support that they've given us over the last 3 years on these audits. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of City Council. My name is Patrick Simmons. I'm the audit partner on the engagement. We previously met with the audit committee this morning to go through in detail the report, answer any questions, go through the process. So I won't go in too much detail, but I'd be happy to take any questions along the way. But I worked on the engagement with another resource partner, Lupe Garcia, Tom Peterson, who has 40 years in experience in the industry. And so there's reviewers to go along with an extra set of eyes to go along with everything we do. And so part of the audit process, we come in and we look at internal controls in all the significant areas, whether it be utility billing, courts, payroll, accounts payable. And then we do that at an interim period, and then we come back at year end, and that's when Todd and Kristen and their team provide us the financial statement data That all goes into this report, and then we substantiate those numbers. We look at bank statements, we confirm with third parties, look at grant receipts, and all sorts. We recalculate allowances and all sorts of other types of items, and all of this goes into creating or determining an opinion on the financial statement. And so the opinion on these financial statements is an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance we can give. And what that means is it provides reasonable assurance that these financial statements can be relied upon. And with that said, I'd just like to echo what Todd said and thank the whole team. Everything was received timely. We didn't determine any issues. So everything that was given to us was right. There were no material adjustments to be made that were identified by us. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Samuel?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say on behalf of council, thank you very much for the work that has been done. We're happy to get an unmodified opinion. It continues to shine in Beaumont. But I also like to thank Christine Ferguson for the work that she's done. And I understand that's going to be a hard replacement. But congratulations on your new job. And we look forward to great things from you. But thank you very much for all the work you put into the Budget Committee. Mm-hmm.
Also, Christine, I would like to say congratulations on your new job, and wish the best for you, and thank you for all of the work that you've done, along with you, Todd, and the rest of the staff. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Kristen. What did I say, Christine? Kristen.
Christian. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
That's all. Okay, at this time, we will have one proclamation, and I will read it. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Whereas for the past 74 years, the city of Beaumont has been heralding the coming of spring with the advent of the Neches River Festival. Whereas from time to time, commoners have become knights, duchesses, princes, queens, and even kings. Whereas the annual royal edict challenges the royal subjects to commit to the fun, frolic, and festives. Now therefore, let it be known that in the year of our Lord 2022, I, Robin Mouton, Mayor of Beaumont, Texas, do reluctantly relinquish my reign over the city for the week of March 29th through April 10th, and invite King Neches the 74th to treat my faithful followers and his newly acquired royal subjects to partake in all manners of festival activities, feasts, nectar of the gods, and a regal rash of rakish revelry and kingly cavortings with their neighbors and friends. Furthermore, let the town crier bring this message to every hamlet and village within shouting distance and beyond, and let King Nature's 74th command his subjects to enjoy themselves to the fullest during this fun time, fast pace of the 74th Neches River Week. Accordingly, I, Mayor Robin Mouton, have set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed on this date, March 29th, 2022, signed Mayor Robin Mouton, and accepting the 74th Neches River Festival Week proclamation are Molly Moore, Executive Director, Ashley Torres Messina, Social Chairman of the 74th, and Mitch Toops, President of the 74th Nature's River Festival. Please come forward and accept your proclamation. That was a tongue twister. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Mayor, council, on behalf of the Nature's River Festival, this is our 74th year, and I am honored and privileged to be here before the City Council to accept your proclamation for our festival. I will tell you this, tomorrow night, the town crier will deliver this proclamation when the king arrives, our 74th king, at the event center, and every village and hamlet in this great city will know about your proclamation for the next 2 weeks. I want to just say a few words about our festival. First, let me introduce Ashley Messina, who is our social chair for the 74th event, and I'm going to tell you in a few minutes how much work that she and all of her volunteers have done. But 74 years ago, our forefathers sat down and decided they wanted to have a festival in our great city for 2 reasons. One, to celebrate and honor our greatest natural resource, the Nature's River that's right behind this building. And 2, our most precious resource, our children and our youth of this community. This year, I'm happy to tell you that in more than 30 years, we have the largest group of participants that we have had ever for the Nature's River. That is due to all of the work of Ashley Messina and more than 100 volunteers that have gone into every high school in Beaumont Independent School District and the private high schools. And I'm happy to say that this year we have representatives, participants, that is princesses and escorts, from every single school in Beaumont Independent School District and the private schools. Not just 1 or 2, but many, because of the hard work of all of the volunteers. We believe that our festival is representative of this community completely, and we will work very hard to achieve that, and we're happy to say that to you today. One of the greatest things that we do is hand out scholarships to many of the participants. We started this a number of years ago, and it started with just 2 to Lamar University. We've now grown to 9 scholarships. We added another one this year, and our goal is to continue to add each and every year another scholarship. We have 7 board scholarships that can be used by those that are awarded those scholarships at any university in this country. We have 2 that are specifically designated to Lamar University. And of course, if you win one of the other 7, you can go to Lamar University if you want to. You can use it anywhere. But that it is a great honor for us to do that. And in order to do it, each of the participants that wants to be considered has an opportunity to write an essay on why they love their community. And I want to share with this council and the mayor some good news. You know, we're bombarded with bad news all the time. Every time you turn the television on, it's bad news. I want to share some good news. I've read over 100 essays. And again, remember, these essays come from every single school in the Beaumont Independent School District and the private schools. So there are children, high school seniors that have written these essays, that have submitted them for scholarships from every single school. And the theme is the same in all 100. The theme is love of community. Every single one of these authors of these essays talked about how much it meant to them to help the citizens of Beaumont with floods at Harvey, hurricanes, the pandemic, and many other disasters that have affected our citizens, and how proud they were to serve this community. 2, they love their teachers. They respect their teachers. And they're so happy and honored that their teachers promoted them to get them where they are for graduation. And thirdly, as a parent, striking my heart, is how much they care about their parents, their grandparents, their godparents, their aunts and uncles that have supported them through school. And when I tell you, we hear the president say that the union is good, the State of the Union is good, the state of Beaumont and our youth is good and wonderful, and the future is bright. And we are proud to bring these young men and women and all of the younger participants on the stage to honor them at our coronation on April the 9th. And we invite all of you. We have a parade on April the 8th, and it will be right here in the city of Beaumont. We want to thank the police and all of the work that they have spent hours with our committees to help us do the routes, and every year they've been exceptionally wonderful in helping us with the parade, as well as many of the other events in which we've needed the police department. And BISD, the teachers, the administrators, the principal, the superintendent have had open arms to our organization so that we can go into the schools and make known to every single person that we are here to support them, just like our organization is open to anyone and everyone, and including the fact that we changed the rules a few years ago, and we even allow women as knights. You don't have to be a male to be a knight. It's open to everyone. So with that, Mayor, again, we truly appreciate the opportunity to be here, and we want this council to know that our youth are strong and our future is bright with these young leaders coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We have a few gifts to pass out for everyone. A little token from the Neches River. If you'll indulge us just a minute, and we'll
Sure.
pass those out.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you again.
Well, thank you for that. I hope to see you on tomorrow, and hopefully for the parade. So now's the time for any citizen who wishes to speak. You may do so by filling out the green form to the back of the room and hand it to the clerk to the front of the room. You will have 3 minutes to speak. The green light will come on at the beginning and the red light will come on at the end of your 3 minutes. Also, if you were here for the presentation, if you would like to leave, you may do so at this time. Thank you so very much for coming.
So Mayor, I have one person that wanted to speak, Jeff Payne, but that item is number 1, which has already been through a public hearing, so I can't call him up to speak. So other than that, I don't have anyone.
Okay, thank you. Also, I'd like to recognize Mayor Ames in the audience, and also Mr. Stacy Lewis Jr., who's on our BISD school board. Thank you for joining us today. I would like to read at the close of the city council meeting, the council will hold an executive session to consider matters contemplating to or related or pending litigation in accordance with section 551.071 of the government code. And it is Kajarnan Hotel Group, DBA Fairfield Inn, and DAV Raja Brothers, DBA Courtyard by Marriott, and claims of Delisha Robertson to discuss or deliberate economic development negotiations in accordance with section 551.087 of the government code, to which specifically Project Deep Blue and Project Mercury. Thank you. At this time, I would like to have a motion for the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. And we have today with us Mr. Boone.
Yes, Mayor. Good
Thank you.
afternoon. The first item on the regular agenda is, item number 1 is an ordinance entitled an ordinance granting a specific use permit to allow a middle school and high school in a GCMD General Commercial Multifamily Dwelling District for the property located at 6490 Phelan Boulevard in the city of Beaumont, Jefferson County, Texas. Harmony Public Schools is requesting a specific use permit to allow a middle school and high school at 6490 Phelan Boulevard. Plans are to build a 100,000 square foot building to house a new secondary school with 750 students and 100 staff members. The campus is expected to function similar to a traditional public school in terms of hours and operation. At a joint public hearing held March 21st, 2022, the Planning Commission recommended 9-0 to approve this request, subject to the following 5 conditions. Number 1 is to provide drainage calculations showing no negative impact. Adequate detention volume must be incorporated, which will maintain existing conditions of runoff. The DD6 or Drainage District 6 easement on the east side of the property may not be used for detention. Number 2, provide a left turn bay median cut for eastbound traffic on Phelan Boulevard. And number 3, provide a traffic analysis showing no significant negative impact. Number 4 is to provide landscaping to meet city ordinance requirements. And finally, number 5 is the lighting be designed such to minimize impact on surrounding residential properties. And based on that, the administration is recommending approval of this item subject to the same conditions.
Thank you. You've heard the reading of item number 1. May I have a motion, please?
Move to approve with the 5
Second.
conditions.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Neal.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Boone, condition number 3 seems a little bit unreasonable to me. Provide a traffic, basically for the negative impact. So who makes the judgment call on that?
So this is a recommendation of our traffic engineering group, and so again, they're recommending the left turn bay for eastbound traffic on Phelan. Referring to the traffic study, what we're asking for is that a professional traffic engineer produce a study analysis, and so in those study analyses, they will look at the traffic that's being generated by the center currently, as well as the additional traffic that's going to be generated by the new school. And so they're going to come up with a professional recommendation on what the impact will be. Ultimately, though, it's going to be our staff who's going to make a recommendation. Our thought is if the recommendation is negative, it may be a situation where we take it back to the Planning Commission for further review.
So you're specifically worried about Phelan traffic, not the private property?
Well, regarding the traffic, we're worried about the traffic that's going to be generated from the new school. So that's going to impact, of course, the circulation of traffic within the center, but also the impact that's going to spill over to both Dallin as well as Phelan.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Getz.
Since the planning and zoning meeting, and let me preface this by saying I've attended I've been to Harmony's school and looked at their program. They do fantastic things. It's impressive to note that every single graduate of Harmony Science Academy went to college in the last several years, so that they do a remarkable job over there. But since then, I have also heard from constituents expressing concerns about traffic, and so I'm gratified to hear that there's a traffic analysis that's going to be performed. The concerns I heard were more directed as to the potential congestion that could occur, not so much in the morning, but in the afternoon, because a lot of the businesses are not open when the school would be starting. but we have to keep in mind this is a 750 student school, and it's going to be where the old Colonnade Theater was. They're going to demolish that building and build a new building there and a football field behind it. We need to do exactly what you're suggesting be done, a traffic analysis to see how that could impact that area.
Any other discussion? Councilmember Durio.
I just wanted for the viewing audience and for citizens, in case they weren't informed, when they have a planning and zoning commission meeting, the council is there also. So we get to speak to the owner and neighbors, whoever want to come, and we get to talk to all of them and hear their side of it. So we can get all sides of it before we make our decision. It's not, we don't just come here and get it and approve it. We've already got the background because we were all at the planning and zoning committee meeting. And I also want to know, when we were there, the owner of that actual shopping center, Mr. Albanese, they supported this project also. So I just want to let y'all know that.
Thank you. Councilmember Turner.
Chris, by any chance, do we know a projected timeline of when maybe possibly the school may be complete?
I don't think that was discussed by the applicant, and I don't see a timeline in their application. But the specific use permit would need to be acted on within 2 years. So if it goes beyond the 2 years, they would have to come back regardless.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. May I have the reading of item number 2, please?
Mayor and Council, item number 2 is an ordinance entitled an ordinance of the City of Beaumont, Texas, suspending the rates proposed by CenterPoint Energy Resources Corp., DBA CenterPoint Energy Intex, and CenterPoint Energy Texas Gas, CenterPoint or Company's Gas Reliability Infrastructure Program, known as GRIP, filing made with the city on March 3rd, 2022, finding that the meeting complies with the Open Meetings Act, making other findings and provisions related to the subject, and declaring an effective day. And the city attorney, Sheree Reed, will lead this item.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Basically, we're asking that you reject CenterPoint's energy increase to allow for us to negotiate lower rates. It's something that we do almost every year. It's routine. If you guys voted against it today, we would, our residents would look at a increase for residents of about $1.69, about $1.59, and general and small businesses would range between $2.61 and $13.74. So suspending the rate increase would allow us to negotiate lower rates for the citizens.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I so move for approval of the recommendation of staff.
Is there a second? I have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. May I have the reading of item number 3, please?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 3 is an ordinance entitled an ordinance of the City of Beaumont, Texas, suspending the rates proposed by Texas Gas Service Company's TGS or Company Gas Reliability Infrastructure Program, known as GRIP, filing made with the city on February 10, 2022, finding that the meeting complies with the Open Meetings Act, making other findings and provisions related to the subject, and declaring an effective date. And this item will be led by the city attorney, Sheree Reed, as well.
So in keeping with the same thing, we're asking that you reject this and suspend to allow us to negotiate lower rates. Without the action of council today, citizens could expect to see a $1.99 increase for residential, about $9.07 for commercial. Industrial will be more $134.94, and public authorities would be about $16.47 increase on their monthly bills. And so we're requesting that council suspend that to allow for negotiation of lower rates.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion?
I have one question.
Yes.
This
Councilmember Durio.
Texas Gas Service, is that just another gas company like CenterPoint?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. Next, we'll have a public hearing. Mr. City Manager, can you please take us into the public hearing?
Yes, ma'am. We're asking the council to conduct a public hearing to receive comments and hear applicant requests for funding from the 2022 Community Development Block Grant Program.
Thank you. The floor is open. City Clerk, will you please call the names?
Carl White, 4655, and I think that's Alicia Street, Beaumont, Texas. Are we setting the timer, Mayor? Are we doing the timer or just letting them speak?
Yes.
Timer? Okay. Making sure.
Good afternoon, Council and Mayor. My name is Carl White. I'm Executive Director of Land Manor Incorporated. Land Manor provides substance abuse disorder treatment and mental health treatment for the city of Beaumont. This month, we celebrate 53 years of being in service of providing substance use and mental disorder services in Beaumont. We have 6 buildings located throughout the city of Beaumont, and we're requesting help with a roof for one of our buildings. This is our first time coming to the city to request help. We normally be able to take care of these things on our own, but due to COVID and the circumstances we've been going through in America lately, we're kind of short on the resources to do all the things we need to do. And I would appreciate any help or assistance you would get us in replacing that building, and so we can continue to help people with substance use and mental health disorders.
Thank you.
Daniel Jeans, I think that is, the House Center, 2509 Cable Avenue, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor. I'm really impressed on reading that proclamation. It's fantastic, tongue twister. The House Center, I put a newsletter in front of everybody's desk. Stands for honesty, open mind, and willingness. We've been on the corner of Cable and Cottonwood. It's our 30th year of trying to serve our community, our city, our state, and our country to help people that suffer from addictions to get off the street. In 30 years' time, we progressed from just a men's facility to now we have a phone that's answered 24/7. Just over the 24-hour period today, I took 2 late calls from the ladies reaching out for help for treatment, and a call from the Montana State Hospital looking for treatment for a guy trying to get back to Texas. And we were able to point them in the direction that they needed to go. We're not a fix-all for everybody, but we try to do one thing good and help addicts and alcoholics get off the street. But we've progressed over the last 30 years to be a community resource to help people with mental health issues and other areas to network out and get them in the right direction. We're honored to be at, on 2509 Cable. We have a great city councilman, Baldwin Samuels DeBackus. A lot of you members of the city council back us, and we're grateful.
Thank you.
All right.
Brittany Collins, 3800 Park Lane, Port Arthur, Texas.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. My name is Brittany Collins. I am the Program Manager for Legacy CDC. Legacy CDC is a nonprofit organization that was organized in 2006 to assist low to moderate income families achieve housing stability. Legacy CDC provides disaster recovery services, tenant-based rental assistance, and emergency rental assistance, in addition to its home ownership program. Under the home ownership program, Legacy serves as the community housing development organization for the cities of Port Arthur and Beaumont, and we have for the past 12 years. We are currently the sole CHODO in the city. Our organization develops affordable single-family and multifamily housing. Legacy provides HUD-mandated homebuyer education certification to program participants, which allows them to tap into the city's down payment assistance program. Legacy is a HUD-approved counseling agency with 3 HUD-certified counselors, one of only 2 in Southeast Texas. The funding request will be utilized to cover the cost of providing the home buyers education program to city participants. The funds will also be used to cover the salary of a counselor, rent, marketing, utilities, and other costs associated with administering the program. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Hey, Kaylee Henry, 3380 Phelan, Beaumont, Texas, Girls Haven.
Hello, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Kaylee Henry. I'm the Development and Public Relations Director of Girls Haven. I'm here asking for funding to help get us kitchen supplies for our kitchen. It hasn't been updated I know of, in 20 years, and maybe a lot longer than that. It used to be the BPM Club before it was Girls Haven, so whatever they had in their kitchen, that's what we have today. So we didn't even realize how bad it was until we had our Gumbo Festival as a drive-through, and we had to use our kitchen. And Miss Jackie, who's our head kitchen staff, she's been with us for years. We were trying to use our oven to cook rice, and it wouldn't work, and so she tied up a string and had to tie it to something else to keep it closed so that it would keep working for us. So we said, okay, for our next grant, this is what we're asking to get help for. So we're getting help to be able to update the oven, the freezer, microwave, and they're all commercial grade for this kitchen. It's a commercial grade kitchen. So we cook for up to 24 girls. We house up to 24 girls just at the Girls Haven campus. If you don't know about Girls Haven, we do accept girls, young ladies from 6 all the way up to 22. And all of our girls have been pulled out of their homes by Child Protective Services at no fault of their own. So they've been pulled out of their homes due to abuse, neglect, homelessness, and severe family dysfunction. And so they come to Girls Haven and they stay with us, sometimes for a few months, sometimes for several years. We do have 2 girls who have been there for almost 5 years now. So we do have all the way up to 24 girls, and so we're having to cook them breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Sometimes we bake at night. So it's important for us to have commercial grade appliances so we can be able to provide for all of our girls.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Marie Smith, 9120 Mockingbird Lane, Beaumont, Texas. I'm sorry? Is it Mark? It looks like Marie.
A little bit better on my writing there. Mayor Mouton, members of the council, and officers. I want to first thank you for your service for the city. Now, I've been away for about 6 years. I had to leave Beaumont for health reasons, but I've never moved my official residence here. Beaumont's home, and I love Beaumont. Now, I'm concerned about the blood that's running red in these streets. And when I was here with my youth program through my nonprofit organization, we didn't have this senseless killing and violence in our city. It did not happen on my watch, because I have 30 years of working with young people and giving them alternatives, all of the social ills in our area. So we just came out of a bad pandemic, as we all know. So we need to get some funds to get this program back going. So I've heard the Macedonian cry from the members of this community to try to come back and help. So I've got a growing and a wonderful church in Portland. I've established some great relationships there. We're doing good. So I'm going to split my time between Beaumont and Portland to come back here. And so we're going to work with our church and our nonprofit. I'm going to reach out to you guys. Councilman Turner and Councilman Neal has been out and seen and witnessed my programs firsthand. And so I know how to save these young men. I've done it. I've been recognized by 4 presidents. President Clinton, I served as a consultant to him and formalized the strategy of how to fight drugs in America in 1996. And so I know how to get in these communities and grab them in the collar and drag them into my youth center, love on them, feed them, give them some recreation, give them some sports, and then I get them to church, okay? And so I love Beaumont, and we've got to do something about what's going on in our city. We can't let this continue. And so I'm here to partner, to hear your vision, to work with you and others, and partner with our law enforcement to get in front and to get proactive in some of these things that's going on with our young adults, and clean up Beaumont and get it back the way it needs to be. So I'm here offering my experience, my time and service to partner with you. Everything costs money, And so it's gonna take me time to write grants, but I have never gotten any money from the city of Beaumont for the program. We've been in schools feeding. We was in 10 schools feeding, and we kept a lot of young people out of trouble in this city. And so I'm back to help. So I want to partner with y'all. And so thank you, and we look forward to cleaning up Beaumont.
Thank you.
Barb Newhouse, 3845 MLK Parkway, Beaumont, Texas, Southeast Texas Food Bank.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. It's my pleasure to be here in front of you and share just a little bit about the grant request that we put in with the CDBG. The funding for the $20,000 would go to fund part of our backpack program with BISD. In BISD, we right now serve over 700 children in Beaumont across. This money would provide backpacks to 115 children over the period of 35 weeks. So that would give those folks who go home at the end of the week, those children, food for over the weekend to get them through the weekend. I think it's important for you to understand that the Southeast Texas area, including Beaumont, obviously, ranks number 6 in the nation for food insecurity. In addition to that, we have about 1 in 5 children across the state of Texas who are constantly food insecure. So our backpack program is a huge one. And in fact, I give you this. Since our backpack program serves from K through 5 in the Beaumont School District, we have 6,384 children who actually qualify through the Texas Department of Education and the poverty reports for backpacks. If you were to be able to fund all of those children, it would cost $1.2 million. We at this point are working to try to get funds for everybody across Beaumont and then in Southeast Texas and other school districts. So $20,000 is what we're looking at for 115 children to be able to have backpacks 35 weeks of the school year. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Would you state your name again?
Barb Newhouse, Barbara. But only if you can say it with 3 syllables can you say Barbara. Otherwise it's Barb.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Ms. Newhouse. You said that these only go out on Fridays, like for the weekend?
They're going out, that's when we work with the schools based on what their needs are, but because of the school lunch program and the other hot meal programs that go on during the week during school, we get concerned that on the weekend these children do not have anything to eat or very little. So they go out on Fridays, they're packed and ready to go with ready-to-eat meals throughout the whole weekend.
Can you describe some of the meals that go out?
So we have like fruit cups, we have the various kinds of what I would call kids snack kinds of things that go into those backpacks. And that's what we have then for them over the weekend. There might be some canned kinds of foods as well that go into those backpacks, but they're very much, we try to make them as kid-friendly as possible so that children will eat them.
Oh, don't worry about that.
So at any rate, what we do is we work with our suppliers, and we work with our children's program. So Mary Simon is very involved in what we're doing, who runs our children's programming, and we take a look at what are the kind of kids' foods that we can get kids to eat through the weekend, but to keep them going so that they have something.
Okay.
This is not the first time that you all have funded this program. So just so you're aware. Any other questions?
Councilmember Turner.
Out of curiosity, this is a year-out thing, or do y'all just do this for the summertime when the kids are out of school?
No, so the summertime, so that's a different project. And we will be seeking funding for that as well. But that would be a summertime backpack program as well, so that we can actually go beyond Fridays to the weekend kind of thing. So we're working on building that program out. It's a little more complicated when we get into the summertime because we have to look at working with the housing community as well.
Thank you.
Anything? Thank you.
Jancy Kimball, 4590 Concord Road, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon. My name is Jancy Kimball, and I am the CEO of Nutrition and Services for Seniors. We are a nonprofit that has been around for almost 40 years, and our mission has remained the same. It is to come up with innovative and effective programming to keep our seniors living independently with dignity. Our largest program is Meals on Wheels, and we are currently serving almost 2,000 meals a day out of our Concord kitchen to residents, homebound seniors in Jefferson and Hardin counties. We are unique in our services because we have an eyes-on approach. Our delivery team is trained to spot elder abuse and changes in condition, and so we lay eyes on them and we can get them the help that they need. And that is a great comfort to not only our seniors, but to those that may have family members that are not living close by. We deal with a forgotten demographic in this area, and it is so important that we continue giving them the nutrition that they need. I'm going to turn it over to Kayla White.
Kayla White, I'm the Director of Finance and Development and Nutrition and Services. And in addition to Meals on Wheels, we provide a lot of other services that ensure that our homebound clients in Jefferson and Hardin counties can remain living independently at home. We have a very large transportation program that gets them to vital doctor's appointments, dialysis, cancer treatments, grocery shopping, things like that that help them maintain their independence. In addition to that, we do a grocery bag program for our clients that need extra food in their pantries because they do not have access to grocery stores and things like that. So our grocery bag programs helps with that. We have a pet food program that assists with pet food for our clients who have pets so that they don't feel obligated to share their meals with their pets. We have an emergency response system that is there in the case of an emergency or in the event of a fall or a break-in. So we also have a Grow to Share garden. It's an organic garden that is at our facility in Beaumont, and it provides fresh produce to our homebound clients who, as I said, don't have access to grocery shopping and things like that to obtain fresh produce and vegetables that a lot of us often take for granted. All of these extra services are free to our clients who are our members of our Meals on Wheels program. And the funding that we are requesting is for carts and coolers that are utilized for our daily Meals on Wheels program, and our congregate dining programs, so that way we can get our carts and our coolers sustain a lot of damage and excessive use daily. I mean, we're putting huge carts filled with thousands of meals into vans, and they incur a lot of use, and so they are constantly in need of replacement. And so the funding for that would help us to continue delivering these meals to our clients and ensure that they can remain living independently at home.
And I would like to invite each one of you to come out and have lunch with us and take a tour of our facility. We want you to know that we are keenly aware that these individuals that we serve, we may be the only human contact that they get every single day. And the meal that we give them may be the only one that they eat. So we are their cavalry, and we appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Norma Sampson, 2390 Dallin Road, Beaumont, Texas. Julie Rogers, Gift of Life.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor and Council Member. Thank you for the opportunity to present our request for the CDBG funding on behalf of the hundreds of women who are medically underserved and without health care in Beaumont, Texas. The Gift of Life has been in existence for nearly 30 years, and most of you are familiar with our program efforts. It is simply that direct service to those who need vital health care. Without our gap, and now which is more of a cavernous level of care in Southeast Texas, our program pays for breast cancer screenings, diagnostic tests, ultrasounds, and the biopsies, and our staff navigates each woman through this journey, whether it's simply from the screening to give transportation, child care, essential products and hygienic supplies that they need. Our staff is lovingly and compassionately there throughout their journey. For those that are diagnosed with breast cancer, our translators and our case managers hold their hand and take them through this really devastating journey. As you know, cancer has not stopped for COVID, and our program hasn't either. We've remained sustainable, and even in the face of having to cancel our principal fundraisers and those that have raised monies for our operations, our revenues have gone directly to help those in need. And so faced with the basic rights that most of us have in terms of health care, we receive numerous calls from people throughout Beaumont, and it's generally not just for our breast and our men's services. It's for those that are combating innumerable cancers and other devastating life experiences. We are that touchstone for those individuals in Beaumont. And without your help this year with this grant, we are really facing and confronting more financial hardships than our program has ever experienced in its history. We're sustainable because of you. We're local. All of our money goes back into helping Beaumont residents, and we appreciate your support that has been there. And again, this year more than ever, we request your help and support so that those women who can't afford health insurance because of the cost of the insurance or their deductibles, that you work with us together this year to provide these life-saving services for Beaumont women. Thank you on behalf of the Gift of Life, the hundreds of women whose lives we've touched, more than 40,000 women who've received our free screenings, and more than 260 women whose lives have been diagnosed with breast cancer and extended thanks to your support and those in the community.
Thank you so much, Norma. And we do know that it's the only one-of-a-kind resources in the state of Texas that's available to women.
Thank you, Mary. It's true. We don't. There is no one else. There's not another organization in Southeast Texas that pays completely for someone's breast and men's health care services. And so it is that lifeline. We are fortunate to collaborate with so many medical institutions that allow us to have contractual arrangements with them so that we can afford a managed care contract and extend these services. Most of us, our lives have been touched by someone who has suffered with cancer, and it's almost unimaginable to consider that you don't have a place to go when you are battling cancer and you have no one in your corner to provide those healthcare services. So again, on behalf of myself, Regina Rogers, and everyone with our program, thank you for believing and endorsing our life-saving mission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Imogene Shagwar, 20 North 11th Street, Beaumont, Texas, IEA.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I want to thank you first and foremost for past support of IEA. I am the interim executive director, and here with me is Annie Bell. She is one of our professional counselors with our program. IEA provides services to young people ages primarily 12 to 17. They are involved in some part of the criminal justice system. Our role is to try and make sure that we're helping them to adapt and be able to make life-changing goals in order to become productive citizens in society. Of course, our responsibility is to be able to help them to navigate through the things that young people are dealing with here in Southeast Texas. I'm sure that each of you are aware of all of the challenges that we are experiencing with our young people and how they're involved in various phases of the criminal justice system. Our role is to continue to try and help them overcome the challenges facing mental health. We're finding that more than ever, we have about 85% of the people that we're currently serving, they're dealing with mental health challenges. And what we're asking the county to do is, the city to do is to be able to help us provide services that are in high demand of these young people in order to be able to be productive citizens in the Beaumont community. I have with me here today a young man by the name of Cesar Cisneros. Cesar actually received services from us. I can talk about it, but he actually experienced it, so I'd love for Cesar to share with you his.
Thank you. IEA helped me turn my life around when I was about 15 years old. They helped me graduate, get my diploma, enroll into LIT, graduate from there. And now 10 years later, they're even helping me out with my small landscape business. So it's a great organization. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
And I know you're all familiar with my face, Annie Bell. And each year I call myself in the trenches with our young people. These are young people that I counsel with at Minnie Rogers Juvenile Detention Center. These are young people that are still on probation, they're at home. I go into the homes, I go into those trenches, and I try to help them. And we have lots of organizations here that are asking, for support to help the kids that we work with. And a lot of the kids tell me, I'm like, what do you need? What do you need to get you out of this turmoil that you're in? And so we need more things in the city. We need a lot more things that we can do, And if we want to take something away from these kids, we have to replace it with something else. So it's a lot of things that we have good kids.
No, go ahead.
We have good kids. They're in environments. I'm just talking about a kid today. He told me, he said, Miss Annie, he told me last night, he's in Minnie Rogers. He said, our house is shot up. Car been shot up with my mom and my little sisters in the car. And he actually was brought to Minnie Rogers because he had a gun. And he told me, he said, but when I go to court, I'm going to tell the judge, I have to have my gun because I have to protect my mom and I have to protect my sisters, my siblings. So we have to do something for these kids. And I feel that IEA, we're getting a start, but it's going to take help from the village. We're going to need the village to help us with our children because we got to change the future for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you allowing us to come and speak with you, and we appreciate the support that the city has provided us over the years. We've served over 3,500 young people here in the Beaumont region, and we want to continue to make a difference in their lives and help them become productive citizens of Beaumont. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paula O'Neill, 590 Center Street, Beaumont, Texas. She's with Henry's Place, some other place.
Hi, I'm Paula O'Neill with Some Other Place, and of course we are here again asking for assistance with Henry's Place, our day center for the homeless. I don't need to tell you, but because most of you know, but since the mid-1990s, the city of Beaumont has partnered with Some Other Place to provide the services that we provide at Henry's Place. I so wish I had some success stories to share with you, and there are some, but they are few and far between. Basically, we try to the best of our ability to treat people who are on the streets with dignity and respect, and to try to be basically just a humane society for humans. It is extremely difficult to generate support for this clientele, so the support that we've received through the years from the city is so very appreciated. I don't have to tell you that there is a homeless problem in Beaumont, Texas. There is also a homeless problem throughout our country. I wish I could tell you, as this will be my last appearance before you, as I will be retiring soon. My replacement has been chosen and will be announced soon. I wish I could tell you I had answers. I wish I could tell you that I was leaving Some Other Place knowing exactly what's needed to be done to help the people that come to us each day. I don't. But the only thing that I can tell you is that we continue to need to strive. At the CDAC committee meeting the other night, one of the ladies asked, what would you recommend? Some of the organizations that you've heard from today are doing wonderful things. We have got to do whatever we can to prevent homelessness. Once they become homeless, the barriers and the challenges are so overwhelming to overcome. So I challenge the city to continue to do the good work that you do. It has been my pleasure to work with you all and to receive the support that you've given us. We have tried to the best of our ability to be responsible stewards and to really show the love and concern that this city has for all of its citizens, even those that are somewhat very difficult to love. I will tell you that sometime next month we will be having an opening of the newly renovated and expanded facility called Henry's Place, and we will certainly let you know when it's going to happen so that you can come, because it's thanks to Chris and the Community Development Block Grant department that the funding was made available to us to start this project. I hate to say it, but it's going to cost a little bit more than what the city has allocated, but it's going to be a nice place for them to come. We have not closed one day. We continue to operate in one of our warehouses, but we will have this new facility open, hopefully, and running one day next month. Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure to appear before you all these years. I will miss seeing you, but I won't miss begging for money.
Ms. O'Neill, thank you. Ms. O'Neill, thank you so very much for all of your dedicated service.
Robin Pearson, 855 South 8th Street, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Robin Pearson. I'm here from the Richard L. Shorkey Center. We are located at 855 South 8th Street. We've been there since 1964. I think that the facility has some pieces inside of it that have also been there since 1964 with no updates, and so that's what we're here to ask for. But we are a service. We service all of Southeast Texas and kind of beyond. We get kids even from the Louisiana area to come into us. We offer physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy to children 0 to age 21. We also have ABA therapy, which is applied behavior analysis, and that is for children on the autism spectrum. We are maybe the only and possibly about 100-mile radius that will be serving children on the autism spectrum and ABA therapy that are on Medicaid. Previously, Medicaid did not take or provide services for children, so those kids got no services. So at this point in February, it started to kick in, yay! But guess what? The website crashed, and so we are still in the process of trying to get that to happen so we can provide services to kids that need that are on Medicaid services. We also have an aquatics program, so we take those kids on the autism spectrum as well as physical therapy and occupational therapy and provide that for them. And we've expanded our services beyond just the facility that we have. This Saturday, we are taking 10 kids kayaking that have physical needs, as well as are on the autism spectrum. They're going to go kayaking. We're starting a stand-up paddleboarding program for them. It's actually research-based, and then we're also offering it, opening up to kids that have special needs just as a recreational opportunity. Also within our facility, we have an inclusive preschool. The last 8 children that we have enrolled have been kicked out of multiple preschools or never had the opportunity to go to preschool because of their significant needs. And so we provide an inclusive environment so kids that don't have disabilities or are typically developing are with our kids that have special needs, and we have staff to push in and help those kids. Unique to our facility, since we do have other therapies while they're at our facility, they are pulled out for physical therapy, occupational therapy, even aquatic therapy. So they get that and their parents aren't taking off multiple times during the day. Why it's so important that as we are a nonprofit, we service primarily kids that are on Medicaid. Those kids often struggle with paying for those services. Medicaid may pay for it, but sometimes there are copays. Our kids that are on private insurance also have copays. If you're getting PTOT speech during the week and you have a $25 copay, that's $75 a week. So it's lots of times it's our insured kids that are privately insured that are having a hard time funding these services. We write off quite a bit of money for those kids to get those services. What we're asking for is in our preschool, our carpet has got big humps and bumps in it. We have kids that are on have braces. They are trying to push their cute little carts around. They're shopping and pretending, and they hit a hump and they fall down. And we have a little girl that was 3 that just learned to walk, tripping over that carpet, as well as we're looking for an awning over a sidewalk. We have a motor lab that the kids go to, and you have to go through the pool area. It was a storage unit originally, and so there's like monkey bars in there, a little trampoline, but they have to go outside. And you guys remember last summer, it rained every day. So every day our kids walk through the rain to go out to Motor Lab to have a place to play. So we're looking for an awning and replacement of flooring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jonathan Williams, 4045 Treadway Road, Beaumont, Texas. He's with Jonathan Williams Center for the Performing Arts.
Hello, Mayor, Council.
Let me pass these out.
Okay. What she's passing out there is basically a binder of pictures that would cover some of the productions and trainings that we offer the community. If you would, once we've finished the meeting today, if you'll leave it there in the area, Tina will be so kind as to pick those up so that I can gather them later. Well, I am Jonathan Williams, founder and artistic director of the Jonathan Williams Center for the Performing Arts here in Beaumont. I want to thank you for your past support. I've been asked, why do you do what you do? And simply put, I was one of those students who needed a place of training, who needed mentors in the performing arts growing up in Beaumont. We didn't have that. It's really a personal, a very, very personal thing for me. When I formed JWCPA, I promised students who I taught several years back that we would provide a facility, we would provide services that they could call upon when needed. Though I've been in the field of performing arts for about 37 years, we started JWCPA about 5 years ago, this past December 2021. We have served the community with over 351 students and adults participating in 29 showings of productions or performances with audiences of over 2,500 collectively from this region, other Texas cities, and 5 other states, including New York, Florida, and California. It was such an outstanding experience, they didn't want it to end, said students and adults who participated in our programming. More opportunity for youth of color and low to moderate income families. JWCPA has partnered with community organizations, some of which are here today, to provide performances and facilities for those performances. Although very, very grateful, it's time for our own. We've identified a downtown location and consulted with a firm that will help determine the overall need within that facility. Phase 1, which is this current application, and later, phase 2, we've consulted with the same organization to implement needed renovations that are outlined in phase 1. We ask that the council assist JWCPA in expanding its programming and service to the community through this facility. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your past support.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Williams, the facility you're looking at is the old racquetball courts for the old downtown YMCA, is that correct?
Correct.
And you don't own that currently, is
Not
that right?
currently.
So you're asking in phase 1 for an engineering study to be done to determine what would need to be done at that facility?
Correct.
Okay. And I've been supportive of your program in the past, and the way you've been operating is you've been utilizing other performing arts facilities in order to do your work. Is that correct?
Other facilities, performing arts facilities, and or facilities that we converted for that specific case.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you, Mr. Williams. You're requesting that we...
Just leave them there, and she'll collect them later.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
I don't have last names. It's just Shady and Annette, 2449 Calder Avenue, Beaumont, Texas, and I think they're with CASA of Southeast Texas.
Absolutely.
If you can just provide your last names for the record. Thank you.
I'm Shady Nolan Bonds. and this is Annette Harmon Edwards. We're with CASA of Southeast Texas. Last year, we served over 500 kids. We serve kids who are in foster care once they're removed from the home. CASA comes in, and we're with them till the end of their case. The funding that we're requesting will be used to help ensure that our kids' best interest is seen. We are volunteer-based. Our volunteers come in and they see the children. They visit with the kids once a month. They visit with everyone who is involved in the case. They're also in contact with teachers. They're in contact with therapists. They're in contact with counselors. And they just make sure that our foster kids are being seen. They're making sure that our foster kids are being heard. And they're making sure those kids' needs are being met. Now, we did have over 295 cases. There were 295 cases. 250 of them were of a different ethnicity. They were a minority. And the funding that we received last year, we used that to help make sure that our kids were comfortable while they were in their foster homes. For one example, we had a Hispanic child that was placed with a foster family that was not eating. And the foster family didn't understand why that child was not eating. It's because they were not serving them the correct foods. That child did not eat for 2 weeks. And CASA was able to help with the funding we received last year to help get food for that child. Now, CASA does amazing things. I stand here as proof. I had a CASA when I was a child. I was also in care. And my CASA was there for me. My CASA supported me. My CASA brought me gifts, made me feel loved, made me feel heard. And that is what we want to make sure that we do with the funding.
Okay, and let me say, not only did Shady have a CASA, but she's now a Lamar graduate, and so we're very proud of her. And it shows that kids can be successful if we give them the right tools. Also, with that being said, April is National Child Abuse Awareness Month. So on Friday morning at 7 o'clock, we'll be holding a vigil for all the kids who lost their lives while in care for the past year. I think it's Judge Shelton or Judge Thorne will be there to give a proclamation, and we would love to see you all there. You can see our toy room with all the neat toys and things that we have for the kids to make sure that they are provided for. Any questions?
That means we did great, huh?
So that's this Friday
This Friday at 7 in the morning.
I got that.
Let me add also that sometimes when kids are in care, when they get ready to go home, their parents, in some cases, cannot afford the furnishings or things that are needed for the children. We buy furniture, we buy groceries, we bought, I think, 80 laptop computers this past Christmas, to make sure that they have everything that they need. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, and I enjoyed your Christmas program this past Christmas, and quite familiar with the work that you do, and thank you so much.
Well, this one is going to be very nice as well.
Okay.
Crystal Eve Maxwell, 7941 Katy Freeway, number 281, Houston, Texas.
Hello, City Council Mayor. Thank you so much.
Let me do this and then we can start. I'll start this one.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, City Council, for getting a chance to learn a little bit more about me as the Executive Director. My name is Crystal Eve Maxwell, and the organization that I represent is called Infungata. Infungata. That is a Mandingo word which means claiming what is rightfully ours. We have started the Beautiful Influence Project, which is what I am here to talk about today. The last time that I was here in front of the board, I realized it is really difficult for you guys to truly understand all that we do in 3 minutes or less. So I did put together some things so that you can understand. The Beautiful Influence Project is a multicultural project, which it is multi-layered and multifaceted. That means that, of course, there is the side where there's the arts, there's the dancing, there's the music, but there is also a very progressive business program that we are actively in, and we have success stories that we are here to share with you in regards to that. One of the things that was brought up by one of the wonderful warriors in the back from some other place is the homeless issue. I do challenge the council to think about the type of funding that you guys are going to be, the type of programs that you decide to fund this quarter or with this round of funding. Although it is needed. I was Human Resource Director myself for the Salvation Army here in Beaumont under the captain before this one, and I've worked for several corporates, and those are great organizations. But at the end of the day, we need funding in areas where it's not just a hand out, but it is an actual hand up. Truly understanding what does that mean. So for the progressive business program part of Beautiful Influence, I do want to make sure that you understand that we have business workshops already every Friday. I put in there a calendar for you that you can see as far as the events that we've already hosted this month. Workshop titles such as how to start an Airbnb with little to no investment or startup costs, learning how to take your businesses such as cosmetology, or if you are a contractor, and turning that into an actual entrepreneur. That is what we do. I have someone here actually who started his own business. Okay, he's a little shy right now and nervous, and this is part of what also I do with the clients that we work, bringing them along for the ride so they can see how it is to come and talk in front of various distinguished people like yourself. Okay, but this young brother here, Mr. Brandon, he has a construction business called Home Improvements. Okay, this is one success story. Had no idea about marketing, had no one to help him with. Really, the main part about his story that stuck out to me was the fact that although he was trained, certified, and educated, which really he felt was showing him how to be a worker, a laborer. Who was teaching him how to actually own and sustain a business? So those are the things. And I actually have a couple other, they were so excited about me coming. Some of the people that I've worked with, they're literally, I have one in Washington, D.C. at the Pentagon, literally waiting for me to call if time would allow for them to share exactly how the organization has touched and has allowed them to grow in their personal life. Before I wrap up, that is how you affect homelessness. Yes, they do need clothes, they do need food and all of those things. But even once, like she said, once they get there, a lot of times it's too late. We need to help and intervene prior to that. And this is how you do that. You invest in the community, in their business, and training them and putting those funds there. So we need funds for the rental space we already have. That's already here. We're working with one on 4th Street, and then there's one in the packet on 2980 Willow Place. That's already here. We need spacing for that, and we need more materials to be able to adequately have a true workshop. And I'm doing it all on my own, plus the organization that is backing me in fundraising. But to partner with the city would truly be impactful. Thank you. Any questions? I know I went over.
Any questions? Yes, Councilmember Turner.
Some of y'all courses and classes, where y'all currently holding them at now?
There's 2 locations. The main one is on 4th Street, and it's inside of the 409 Elite Boxing Club. We have reserved a space designated for the Cultural Center. So on Fridays, that's where we are. I also do virtual workshops, which was a request of many of the of the people that participate. So virtual, but the physical location is on 4th Street inside the Boxing Elite Club.
Thank you.
No problem.
I just have one quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed on the page you have a lot of different businesses: Houston, Austin, Miramar, Florida, New Orleans. What are these?
Sure. Those are actual clients and businesses that we have assisted with the Beautiful Influence Project. Many of those businesses are still here in Beaumont. Some of them, the contact was made here in Beaumont. They've taken their businesses elsewhere. We even have people who are actually international at this point. So those are proof of businesses that if you guys wanted to research, wanted to see what they're doing, or any type of reference, those are people and businesses that we have physically touched. We are already doing the work that we're asking for some help with.
Thank you.
No, thank you guys.
Did you want these back, or these are for us?
Please keep them for any research if it could further help our case.
Thank you.
Vanessa Williams, 680 North Street, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon, Mayor Mouton and City Council members and officers. My name is Dr. Vanessa Williams, and I'm the Executive Director of ISWN, which is a big network for prayer in our community, where we host one prayer event per year, but also we are a conduit of other programs that we have initiated, especially during the pandemic. We initiated one program right after the loss of my husband, where we were doing this together. And in that program, it stands for Services to At-Risk Youth in our music program. And currently we are seeking funding of about $20,000, where that money would be used to purchase equipment for our children and for our youngsters. And so with the CDBG contribution, it would benefit our organization, whereas the youngsters would be able to get new life skills that we've been teaching them, and skills to play different instruments as well. This is what we've been doing with them as far as media, dance, both in person and virtually. We currently have 3 instructors right now currently that are working with the children. And so we've identified the equipment that we are needing, which is a significant barrier right now. The grant will go a long way toward resolving that equipment, such as purchasing monitors. We're in need of iPads and 2 state-of-the-art keyboards and speakers and mics as well, and a drum set for some of our children to learn on Fridays at 6 p.m. And so we would equip those children with skills that would benefit them with a continuation of doing that since the pandemic. And so we understand that even with some of these children, as they've developed a passion for the skills that they've been taught, that both they and their families might be able to be catapulted above the poverty line as well, and develop a deeper passion to continue this music. And so even now, what we're doing with our requirements, we think that that's going to be able to give them an outlet as well, and it's helped them even during the pandemic, even with their creativity. And so with our program, we understand right now that we are teaching them at-risk youth age 7 to 17. And so we're providing them with a secure space where they can learn a new skill that's going to aid them in coping and continue coping even during this time, and improve their musical talents. So that is what we're doing. So, and that is our request. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Paula Hall, 2060 Irving, Beaumont, Texas, Southeast Texas Family Resource Center.
Hello. I'm Paula Hall. I'm the director at Southeast Texas Family Resource Center, where we house 113 kids and sometimes a little more. Don't tell nobody that, though. We feed our kids when they come in. The good thing is we learned a lot of stuff from these children. And at first, when we first started, we was having them to do their homework first, and then we would feed them, and I wasn't working. So I found out they wasn't really eating at school. So when they come to us, they're starving. So to get them to get their homework done, we would feed them first. Let me tell you, they eat very well. I think they're having meatballs today. So they eat well, and they get seconds, and some get thirds, and I'm seeing little children's bellies getting bigger, so we're saying no more thirds, just a half a seconds. We help them with their homework. On Thursdays, we make sure they have a spelling test so they can make 100 on Friday. Fridays, we don't do homework. We send them home with homework if they have it. We let them go outside. We have a computer area where we have 20 computers and we have 20 laptops for the smaller kids to make sure they can do research and they can get their stuff done, because a lot of our children being in the low income area do not have the advantage of having computers and laptops and all that. So we have all of that there for the children. It's a joy. We have 5 vans now, thank you, Jesus. So we get to go pick up wherever needs to be picked up, we can pick up. Charlton Pollard is one of our heavier schools, so we have to do double. And not only that, we let the kids have activities at school. So I know the parents are still at work, so we still go and get those kids after they get through with the basketball games, after they get through ACE and all that stuff. We go and get them so the parents don't have to worry about whether or not they get them. I am the one that's on most of the children's emergency forms, so mom don't have to get off of work to go pick up a sick kid or go pick up a kid that's in trouble. They don't want to see me when they're in trouble. I'm going to tell you. Mom will she gives the teachers my cell number, and I'm the one to go to the school. They'll tell them, don't call Miss Paula. And all I tell them is I'm very disappointed. And that helps. The tears roll, and they say, I won't do it again. So it helps. But my reason for being on, really to be on the emergency form, is because I know that parent cannot afford to take off, to be at home with those children because of their acting up. Not because they're sick. If they're sick, yeah, you can go home. But because you're acting up, I'm going to handle it. And that's what they do. And they don't want me there, I'm telling you. And it's not so much that I do what I do. It's because I talk. I do what I do, though. Don't fool yourself. Because they're like my kids. They're like my grandkids. So I'll
Go
stop.
ahead, Ms. Paul. Go ahead. You can
Keep going?
Yeah.
Thank you. So it does take a village. And so I'm in those kids' village. I had a parent to meet me today at the center with some news that she didn't know how to tell me. But I was there for her. So I'm not just there for the children, I'm there for the parents. And I think they are spoiler than the children are. I'm getting calls all the time, text messages. Ms. Paula, can you do this? Can you? So we're there to be an advocate for those children and the parents. And I'm just there to help, and we love them. And I'm telling you, y'all can come by and see. We are now, with licensing, we are now a TRS, which is Texas Rising Star. We wasn't that last year. The highest you can get, that's where we are. We are Texas Rising Star. We're doing our part. I have a waiting list for children, and they don't stay on the waiting list long. But the problem is when they get there, they don't leave. So I have to have a waiting list for a little while because the kids that's in there won't leave. So, I mean, I have to weigh my little options. But we start off at 4, and they leave at 13, and they come back. I got kids that's coming back now telling me I'm going to school to be an engineer. And please let me tell you this one little story. That one kid that come back to tell me he's coming to be an engineer, he was one of the ones I had to go and get at the school because mama was having a baby. And this little rascal went to school to cut up because he knew mama was in the hospital in labor. But he didn't know the school had my number. And when he told me, I ain't worried about it, Miss Paula walked in and he was like, I'm sorry. I ain't gonna do it no more. And he ended up being an engineer. So we are there to help. That's my main object, is to be there to help. Any questions?
Any questions? Well, Ms. Paula, if you would stop cooking all of that good
I know.
food, then they wouldn't be asking for
I know.
thirds. Because when you walk in the door, you can smell it as soon as you open the door.
Yes. Between the food and the snacks, I tell you.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you guys, too. I appreciate everything you guys do. And because of your help, that's why we do what we do. Thank you.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, so if that's that's everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
That was
that's
here
a-
to speak. That's all I
okay.
have, yes.
So at this time, the public hearing is now closed, and we will move. If you would like to leave, you're welcome to. We will move to our discussion item that is next. Thank all of you for coming.
Mayor and Council, next we have a discussion item. It's to review and discuss the various boards, commissions, and committees specified in the Code of Ordinances. And our city attorney, Sheree Reed, will lead this item as well.
So, Mayor Council, we're just going to do, at the request of Councilman Turner and Councilman Getz, an overview of some of our commissions and boards so that the council can get a better understanding of what we have and the purpose of why we have them. Starting with our Civil Service Board, which is pursuant to Local Government Code 143. It is defined in our ordinance in section 2.03.072. We adopted Chapter 143 because our police and fire unions are civil service, and in the adoption of that law, we're required to have a civil service system for them. We have a civil service board that's made up of 3 members. They serve a 2-year calendar term, which means they are appointed and then their term expires 2 years after their appointment. They meet as required to discuss the police and fire exam challenges, as well as hear appeal grievances and fit for duty hearings. Their last meeting was March 2nd. Just for reference, any meeting that says they had a previous meeting, we do have copies of the minutes available for those council people who would like a copy of that. Next slide, please.
Ms. Sheree?
Yes, sir.
Are those meetings open to the public?
Yes, sir. Almost all of our meetings, with the exception, they're posted. So the civil service exam hearings are public as well. For the last meeting that was held, it was a grievance hearing, so they did deliberate privately, which is allowed under the law, but everything is public. Yes, sir.
And this is strictly appointed by the mayor?
So the civil service is appointed in accordance to civil service chapter 143. I believe the city manager make those appointments. And so the next one is our zoning board of adjustment, which is again pursuant to state law. We adopted chapter 211 of the local government code allows for a zoning board. We had to establish that when we adopted that, when the city decided that we wanted to have a zoned community. It's made up of 5 members, 4 alternate members. The members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. They also serve a 2-year calendar term, which means that they are appointed and expires 2 years after their appointment. They meet every first Thursday. They hear appeals for applicants who are requesting a review of staff decisions regarding enforcements. They hear requests for variances, modification to zoning reliefs. That meeting, the last meeting was February 3rd. There are times when they don't meet, and that's when they do not have an applicant. Before you move on for this one, I would like to point out that there are 2 vacant alternate provisions on this board that do need to be filled. There are alternates, so it's not an immediate need. However, there are times when all board members can't meet and that we do need to establish a quorum, so we do need to call on those alternates. So the council would need to consider at some point appointing 2 individuals to serve as alternates on this committee. The next one is per our city charter. We're required to have a planning commission. Article 17, section 24 creates a planning commission that goes along with our zoning authority as well. This board consists of 9 members and 3 alternates. We refer to it as our planning and zoning commission. Members serve a 2-year term that expires on September 30th of odd number years. They meet every 3rd Monday of the month. Their last meeting was February 21st. And this one is just to help to maintain the zoning regulations and the comprehensive plan of the city. So they'll also hear requests for individuals who are seeking variances or changes to the zoning plan, and these decisions do go before city council for approval. The next one is by adoption. We adopted the International Building Codes in 2015. 2015 International Building Codes in 2017. We are looking to adopt a newer version later on this year, but we currently operate under this one that requires us to have a construction board of appeals. This board consists of 7 members. The International Building Codes, as well as our ordinance, requires that the certain individuals serve on this board, such as an architect, an engineer. The rest are listed. They serve a 2-year term. Calendar term is thing. They meet as needed to hear appeals from the building official and fire marshal. Their last meeting was July 1st of 2019. And again, this is when individuals come in with plans for new construction or modifications in the city, and they disagree with what the requirements may be. They have an opportunity to appeal that decision to this board. Yes.
And that board is, you said 2-year terms and appointed and its appointment?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This one also has a vacant position for an alternate electrician. Again, because this board doesn't meet often, it's not a huge necessity, but again, there is a vacant position on this board as well for an alternate electrician.
Ms. Attorney, okay, so last week we heard an appeal about a driveway that didn't go through this board. What types of things go through this board?
So this board, again, and I recall the last time we this board met, it was in regards to how many fire hydrants a new construction property needed. If you recall, they were building a new structure and they had a sprinkler system. And when we do that, there was a minimum number of fire hydrants that's required per square feet of the building. And the fire marshal told them that they couldn't count the one across the street based on the traffic study that had not been incorporated by the city. So they appealed and were able to use the existing. So instead of having to have 3, they were allowed to have 2. So that's a basic appeal. Chris, I think you can jump in. There's some other ones. I think if they the number of sprinkler systems are required in a building system per square foot, if they require a different sound barrier, if they're going to share additional wall. It's basically any decision that is made by the fire and building code officials, mostly on new structures, not necessarily on existing structures, primarily on new structures. We see a lot of appeals for that.
Yeah, and I was just going to add that, a lot of these international building codes are adopted by reference. So, when we talk about the International Fire Code, the International Building Code, it's by reference. So the appeal last week from the curb cut was specifically spelled out, a code of the city of Beaumont, and with that appeal procedure. And again, as the city attorney pointed out, these codes by reference have a provision whereby, again, they don't grant relief from an ordinance. What they simply do is determine. The board is supposed to determine whether or not the staff judge made an error in judgment and interpretation. So.
The next one is by ordinance as well, the Historic Landmark Commission. When we adopted the zoning ordinance, we established 2 historical landmark designations within the city, and as required, we appointed 12 members, or we have a board that allots for 12 members to make designations and preservations in those areas that we have identified as to being historic. Those 12 members are appointed by the city council. They serve a 12-year term that expires on September 30th of odd number years. They meet on the second Monday of each month. Their last meeting was February 14th of 2022. And I think council is aware we do have a historic designation. They have they regulate not necessarily aesthetics in that area, but building structures, building types, which is why we have an architect and members of the Historic Society on those commissions as well. Also by ordinance, section 2.02001 of the city Code of Ordinance outlines and establishes several other boards, 8 commissions, committees that fall under this section. They're listed for you there. The Beaumont Youth Council and the Small Business Revolving Loan Fund are no longer active at this time, so I won't be talking about them in this presentation. But I believe the Small Business Revolving Loan Fund dissolved in March of 2020. And that I believe the Beaumont Youth Council, when COVID, the pandemic hit, it was too difficult to have those children to meet. So for safety reasons, we have not revived that one as well. But going through the next one, the next slide. Our community, I'm sorry. No. Councilman. Okay. The Community Development Advisory Committee has 15 members. The mayor appoints 3 members and each council person appoints 2 members. Currently, this board has more members than it's supposed to have. With the exception of Councilman Neal, I believe every council person appointed 3 people instead of the required 2. But the board meets, the board says a 2-year term that expires on September 30th of the odd number of years. They meet 3 times a year. It's my understanding that they meet to outline and establish the budget. They meet again to approve that, and then they meet again when the board to discuss new board members or if there are any changes that are needed. The city manager appoints someone to serve as a non-voting member as a secretary to maintain the minutes and assist with that. I believe it's a staff member in the community development department. But they make recommendations regarding community development, housing assistance, and objectives for community block grants. So what we discussed today. Yes, sir.
Okay, it's this committee that I have some questions about. As it stands now, what they do, as you just said, is they make recommendations concerning the use of community development block grant funding. But as prescribed by ordinance, they are also authorized to make recommendations regarding community development in general.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And so there has been some talk in that committee about expanding their function so that they do more. Some of the people are motivated to do more than just meet 3 times a year. They'd like to serve as a true advisory committee. Would there be any reason why they couldn't do that, or is that something that they could tackle?
The staff member who's the liaison is Mr. Boone, so I'll let him answer.
Yeah, just kind of echoing that. Historically, that has been their role. As long as I've been working with the CDAC, essentially, as the round of funding we just heard in the recent public hearing, that round of funding comes up and council will ultimately have to decide on how that money's allocated. This body basically, spends the additional time to hear the applications. In some cases, historically, they would go out to the applicant's operation. And so that historically has been kind of their role, is basically the review body to dig into these applications to make a recommendation to council. And so in the beginning of this grant year cycle, because there were a couple members who had reached out to us about perhaps expanding the role of the CDAC, because again, if you look at the powers and responsibilities and duties outlined in the ordinance, it is a little bit broader, or could be interpreted as being broader than their historic role. So at the kickoff meeting with CDAC, we discussed it a little bit in terms of, should the role be expanded. The consensus of the board at the time was, well, let's get through the grant cycle because we know, that is the task at hand. And then after that, kind of regroup and have a discussion as to whether or not, they thought it made sense to basically expand the role of the CDAC. To that end, though, if the council determined that, we really do want a broader role for the group, then, again, the council could certainly make that decision.
Yeah. Throughout the ordinance, it's described as a body that makes recommendations to council. It's my understanding that, obviously there are very few committees that are mandated to meet a certain number of times. And so each committee can choose to meet more or less as long as they're, meeting the functions of the body that's required. Like I said, this committee meets 3 times a year. If they wanted to expand that to expand their duties, they can definitely do that.
Councilman Turner?
When the committees meet, is it up to the committee chair to do the meetings, or is it a staff liaison? How does that normally work if they want to meet more? Is it the chair liaison?
Almost every, let me not say almost every single organization or commission has a liaison that's a staff member. They also have chairs that are appointed. And so the chair essentially runs the meeting and the staff is just supposed to be there to provide resources. It's my understanding that each committee does kind of function a little differently though. But in this regard, if the staff had decided, if the chair had decided that they wanted to expand their duties based on the will of the committee, then the liaison's responsibility would just be to facilitate that. And our facilitation is mostly just securing buildings depending on how big the committee is, making sure that they have a meeting space and so forth. Yes, sir.
So another thing that has come up specifically with the CDAC is that right now they only meet 3 times a year, and there were a lot of people that had been appointed to the committees that were unable to attend the meetings. So is there any provision? I mean, obviously, you know, every council member appoints 2 members, but if your members that you've appointed don't show up, is there any requirement that they meet or that they show up a certain number of times, or they're how does that
Not
work?
in the ordinance. There's not a meeting number requirement in the ordinance. However, all appointees serve at the will of the council. So if you have an appointee who's not meeting their obligations in terms of meeting, you can always replace them.
Okay, that's up to each individual council member.
So when you have an individual appointment, like for example, each council member on this board appoints 2 members. So since we're talking about this one specifically, that council person could pull their appointment and replace their appointment with someone else. There are some committees that have appointees that are approved by the entire council, which means the entire council would need to pull them and reject it. There are some committees that are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council, which means if the mayor wanted to replace them, she would have to have them reconfirmed by you.
When you say a serve at will, does that mean that if a council member becomes aware that their appointees aren't showing up and they don't have a good reason to not show up, can they remove them and appoint somebody else, or do they have to wait until their 2-year term expires on September 30th of an odd numbered year?
No, sir. You can remove them and replace them. Okay. Yes, sir.
One last question. I noticed we seen the list that we went through today. Can this board, are they authorized to make recommendations that may not be on the list? You know, things that they may feel the community needs?
So, again, their function is to make recommendations regarding community development. So the board's function allows them to make recommendations to the council on those things. I think historically they've kind of, I'll defer to Chris because he's a liaison for this board.
Yeah, if you look and the city attorney's got it listed there, I guess the last bullet point on the slide, and this is taken directly from the ordinance as to their duties and responsibility, which is make recommendation regarding community development, housing assistance plans, and objectives for community development block grant program. And so that could be interpreted to be, you know, very broad. I mean, it's just a matter of, you know, I think it was brought up that, you know, with some folks some members aren't always able to attend, and so, you know, the broader the scope, the more time, the more meetings, and so then it becomes more of a challenge. But, you know, could they do more work? Could they make broader recommendations to staff and or council? They certainly could. It's just a matter of, you know, again, what that group wanted to do and what was expected from them, from council.
Thank you for that clarification.
I'd also like to point out, though, that this board is probably the most paused because it is over appointed. So it's my recommendation that council members, with the exception of Ward 1 or Councilman Neal, needs to choose at least one of their appointees to make ex officio, which means they will serve not necessarily as an alternate, because this board doesn't call for an alternate, but as an ex officio. So in the event that someone was not able to serve, they would call on this individual. They could attend the meeting, but any meeting they could attend, but they would be a non-voting member. Councilman Neal does have a vacant seat, so if he liked one of you guys' appointees and wanted to keep him as his own, he could. But he is currently the only council person who has an extra seat to give. Everyone else is over appointed on this one.
And so, since we're addressing it.
So I don't know if everyone has their list. Not something I guess that we need to do like immediate right now, but definitely just wanted to bring it to your attention. Angie does have the appointment list. I have a copy of the list as well. So if you're not aware of exactly who, I know there's several boards that we appoint to. If you're not aware of who it is, you should probably take a look at those lists and try to make that decision so that we can be in compliance with our ordinance.
So does this committee make the recommendation for the CDBG money?
Yes.
Okay, so where, the stuff that we listened to today and read today, did that come from the CDAC?
No,
So,
okay,
let me
go
just walk through that process real quickly. So, of course, in February, all the applications are made to the city. Then the CDAC gets kind of cranked up and starts looking at the applications. They make a recommendation to the city as to how they think the money should be allocated. Then the administration reviews that, and we would submit that to council as a recommendation in the next few weeks, and then council will make the final decision as to how the CDBG funds are actually allocated.
So the CDAC is gonna meet again to give us that final recommendation?
I believe we already have their recommendation, but the administration has not made a recommendation based on that. But we will bring that to you again the next few weeks when we bring you the final action plan to take a look at, to approve.
So will y'all bring us two different recommendations, one from staff and one from the CDAC?
So the way we present it, it will be in a column, which will it'll be a column of applicant, what the applicant's requesting. The next column is what the CDAC recommends. The next column is what the administration recommends. The final column would be what the city council ultimately decides.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay. The next is our Convention and Tourism Advisory Board. This contains 16 members, 4 are appointed by the mayor, 2 are appointed by council members, or each councilperson allows for 2 appointees. The ordinance requires that they each come or meet 8 occupational or different categories within our city. They serve a 2-year term that expires on September 30th of the odd year. They meet every 3rd Thursday of the month. Their last meeting was March the 24th. Their objective is basically to promote tourism in the city and to create engaging marketing strategies. They also assist in the creation of the annual budget for convention and tourism activities.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is one of the more active committees that we have.
It is. This is Dean. Dean is our liaison for this committee, and there's some very good appointees. As he was excited to tell me when I reached out to him, this board is extremely active, and they're very passionate about Beaumont. Next is the Library Commission. This one has 9 members. The mayor appoints 3. The council each appoint 1 member. They serve a 2-year term that expires on September 30th. This commission meets bi-monthly. Their last meeting was March the 14th. There is a vacant seat that needs to be filled by Councilman Getz. But essentially their function is just to assist in creating library services programs for the community, and they make recommendations for changes based on the trends in the country. Yes, sir.
This particular commission is one of the ones that I asked about. My appointee was telling me that they haven't met, so is it required to meet bi-monthly, or is it kind of case-by-case basis?
It is not an ordinance requirement that they meet bi-monthly. I believe that it was just something that was established by the liaison. It can obviously be changed by the chair if they so choose, but this one they chose, I'm assuming the commission chose to meet bi-monthly, and so that's what they've established. Obviously they can meet more. There are very few commissions or boards or committees that have a meeting requirement. This one does not. So if it's silent on how many times that they meet or how often they meet, then it's just based upon what they believe necessary.
So I have another question.
Yes, sir.
So how is the information from this relayed back to council? Because I've been here almost 4 years and I have never seen any request out of the library commission.
Oh. She wanted you to speak up so you can get it for the record. But to restate his question, he says, how is this information relayed back to the council? Because he's never received a request from the library commission. And I'll tell you, sometimes the request, if it's available to come out of an existing budget, they can just take it out of the existing budget. Most of the times they're doing creative sermon learning programs, creative programs that really don't incur any expense to the city. So they just kind of like there is a liaison associated with it. So they express those ideas to them, and they kind of create or make those programs happen. If it's an extreme big ask and something that needs to kind of come to council, I'm assuming it would be, but most of the time it fits within the budget.
The library was actually under me recently until it went under Chris Catalina. Basically, the library commission's there in a support role for the libraries as a whole. They're very involved in the annual book sale and raising funds for supporting a lot of times summer reading program or things of that nature. Sometimes they'll buy something that's needed in a library with the funds from the book sale. But there, in all the years I had it, there was never, they didn't need anything. They were actually supporting the library system. And usually the way the meetings worked is Paul Eady would canvass the members of the commission, and if there wasn't a quorum that could meet that particular meeting, then they'd forgo it and pick it up the next time. So generally we didn't hit every bi-monthly, and they most of the misses were around the holidays, so they'd gap there and then pick up going into the summer reading program, which is the big thing for the library system.
Mayor, speaking just for myself, I would welcome having the chair or their designee report at council meetings what's going on in their committees. I think that it gives them a bigger sense of value and validates their efforts and their service, and it helps us to receive that kind of communication. It might take a few more minutes at council, might make the meetings a little bit longer, but a short 2 or 3 minute summary of what's going on in the meeting I think is appropriate, and I hope other council members would welcome that as well.
I would like to say that my appointees always give me a report, so you might want to check with whomever you've appointed and ask them if they would give you feedback, because usually if there's any questions or anything that's going on, they will normally contact me to ask me different questions about things that have gone on in the meeting, because we can't be at every meeting, so that's why we rely on appointees to do that for us.
I know in the case of the library commission, minutes are taken. Those could be provided from the commission
Every
after it
meeting.
meets.
Yeah, every
That's
meeting.
easy.
Yeah, and I do have, like I said, I do have copies of the meeting. If they met this year or at any time, I do have copies of the meetings that are available, and I can I make them available to Angie for copies, or you can just ask and I can send them to you, because they were all given to me via email, so it's easy to transmit them as well.
Thank you.
Next is our Animal Care Advisory Committee, 7 members, composed by the city veterinarian and other individuals that are listed. Majority of these are staff members or someone who has connection with the city, but the animal care manager and a representative from the police department, as well as other community members. And then these are all individuals who are recommended by the mayor and then approved or confirmed by council. The committee meets at least 3 times a year, and that's stated in the ordinance, so they're required to have those meetings. They have not met this year. Their last meeting was April 21st of last year. But these individuals make recommendations regarding the rules and regulations for the operations of the animal care facility. When we revamped our animal ordinance, this particular board was very heavy in that creation for our animal ordinance, and making sure that that ordinance was, I guess, fair to both the citizens as well as, humane for the animals as well.
I have a question on that one. All right, so it says the committee shall meet at least 3 times a year. Based on what?
That's stated. That's how it's stated in the ordinance. The ordinance states that the committee.
So if they don't meet 3 times a year, what happens?
They're out of compliance with the ordinance.
Okay, and so the last time they met was April 21st, 2021. Did they meet 3 times last year?
I can't answer that, but probably not, since.
So the committee's out of compliance.
That is most likely correct, yes.
Well, we're not gonna put him in jail, though.
No, I mean, that's, I
Councilmember
mean, there's
Neal.
no teeth to it, but the,
But you gotta take in consideration that we've made so many adjustments due to COVID. And, I mean, we've made a lot of adjustments due to COVID. So, trust me, if animal care had a problem, they would get in contact with us.
no, I was just making the point that it's out of compliance, and what can we do to get it back in compliance?
So now that it's, again, I guess it's a good check-in. I pointed it out to their staff liaison and made them aware that the ordinances require them to have at least 3 meetings a year, and that they're most likely out, not this year, but from last year, out of compliance, so that they would need to bring into compliance. So I'm assuming you can expect the Animal Advisory Committee to be meeting within the next couple of weeks. Next is Park and Recreations Committee. This one has 14 members. The mayor and council each appoint 2 members, and then the council as a whole names a chairperson. They meet quarterly. They also have a 2-year term that expires on September 30th. Their job is to assist in creating programs for park and recreation services, as well as making recommendations for improvement based on trends and changes. There is a vacant seat on this committee that needs to be filled by Councilman Samuel. Yes, sir.
This question kind of can relate to the library committee as well as Parks and Recreational Committee. We're saying make recommendations for improvements. I know once these recommendations are made, it's brought to staff. How do we kind of follow up and look at like measuring the recommendation rate? Are we actually looking into some of these recommendations? Are we improving? Are we trying to reach a goal?
So again, with the library commission, if they're able to fulfill the recommendation based upon what's available in their budget, in their budget year, then I don't think that these requests come to council. I can tell you that just in the last couple of weeks, I've reviewed contracts for new equipment at several of our parks. So that I know that was something that was driven just based on reading their minutes, that was driven by the advisory committee. It's saying, we might want to look at things, as well as just kind of our general maintenance schedule for those. So they also look at things like saying, in the previous minutes from their February meeting, they talked about, leveling a field at a park so that they can have flag football and stuff. So if those things are within their existing budget to do, then they do. If not, they look to adding that, what that cost would be, and adding it to the budget. So not all the requests come before council, because sometimes they're able to do it within the monies that's already been allotted. And then we also have a police advisory committee that's made up of 15 members. The mayor appoints 3 members, and then each council person appoints 1 person. There's a requirement that the appointees attend the Police Citizen Academy and participate in a ride-along in order to be full as effective council members. To my knowledge, no one has ever balked at that request. They do participate in the ride-along, and most of them said that they find that the Police Citizen Academy extremely helpful in completing their duties on the advisory committee. They serve a 2-year term that expires on September 30th. They meet every 3rd Monday of each month, and their last meeting was March 15th of 2022. This one has a stated mission in the ordinance that says that their purpose and mission is to enhance the citizen understanding, communication, and cooperation between the police department and the community, and that is what they strive to do. There is a vacant seat on this board as well that needs to be filled by Councilman Samuel. Yes.
Did you say each council member appoints 1 member, or is it 2?
Each councilman appoints, I'm sorry, it should be 2. I apologize. It's 2 members. That's a typo. Good catch. Nice to know you. Good math there. But it's 2 members, and the mayor appoints 3. And then lastly, we also have a Beaumont Housing Authority Commission. This one is by resolution in September of 1941. I went deep for this one. We established a Housing Authority Commission with the adoption of Chapter 392 of the Local Government Code. It's comprised of 5 members, all appointed by the mayor and confirmed by council. They serve staggering terms, 2 members serve a 1-year term and 3 members serve a 2-year term, and designation is made at the time of the appointment. The committee meets on the last Thursday of each month, and their last meeting was February 22nd of 2022. The purpose is to provide affordable housing opportunities within the city. One of the requirements for the board is that someone be a member who is receiving these services as well. And so it's basically to create a dialogue between both the authority as well as the residents for improvement in affordable housing, as making sure that it's also like, not only affordable, but, you know, sustainable and efficient. Yes, sir.
If possible, after this, can I please get this email to me? And Mr. Manager, just a recommendation for, you know, even some new council members like myself and Chris when we first got on. This would be pretty helpful to kind of just receive this, you know, prior to, you know, serving and appointing where we can actually get a full understanding of each entity.
So after I make that typo correction, I'll email it out to you.
Yes, sir.
And that concludes the presentation. There are no additional questions from council. That's essentially what we have. A lot of our boards essentially, or with the exception of the 8 that we mentioned by ordinance, were created for purpose or required for us to have, but the 8, of course, were appointed or created by council to fill a need within the city. So council is able to resolve, expand, or create additional boards as they see fit.
Any other comments? Thank you. Okay, now's the time for public comment. If you haven't already done so, please fill out the green slip to the back of the room, hand it to the clerk to the front of the room. You will have 3 minutes to speak. The green light will come on at the beginning of your 3 minutes, and the red light will come on at the end of your 3 minutes.
Josie Noel, 9230 J. Hood Street, Beaumont, Texas. I'm assuming they left. Dora Nisby, 4520 Corley, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Dora Nisby. I live at 4520 Carter Street. And it is my distinct honor and privilege to serve as appointed by you, the council, and the mayor. I am the chairman of the Library Commission, and I have been for many years. It is my honor that we work on behalf of all the citizens. We meet on a regular basis. We work with the staff. We work as volunteers wherever and whenever needed. There was a lag in this past year on our regular meetings. We meet every other month. But after the election, it seems that according to the director, and I correspond with him on a regular basis, that he did not have a complete list of members of the Library Commission. When we met last, we only had 2 new members. I knew both of them. But to say that the Library Commission is not functioning, or the city, we don't want you to not be pleased with what we do. We are concerned about library services for the city, for all of the citizens of Beaumont. And we are concerned that we have good library services for all of our citizens. And I'm pleased that we do that. I'm very pleased. I'm a certified librarian. I am pleased that we have the branches of libraries that we have. We have the main library and we have the branches strategically placed in our communities so that they can render a variety of services for all of the citizens. We have an excellent library staff. All of the library managers hold a MLS degree, and that is rare. There are not many citizens that not many cities really that can say that, because an MLS degree is rare. Not certified librarians are very hard to find. And I have to give credit to the Director of Library Services that he sweeps the country and looks for MLS librarians. So our libraries are headed by librarians that hold an MLS degree, and that is rare because not everybody gets them. I just want to let you know that the library services are well protected and and people are working hard and providing good library services. And we had a big book drive, a book sale last weekend, because it was co-sponsored by Friends of the Library. And I'm a member of that. The libraries in Beaumont are doing an excellent job. And I think this is one thing that the City Council and the citizens should be proud of, the library services that are offered to all of the citizens of Beaumont. And I'm so proud and happy to be a part of it. Thank you for continuing to appoint me, and as long as God gives me strength, I'm going to work for library services. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nesby, and thank you for your the wonderful work that you do.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Now is the time for council member comment, and I'm going to start with you today, Council Member Neal.
No comment, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Member Samuel.
No comment, Mayor.
Council Member Felshaw.
Thank you, Mayor. No comment.
Council Member Turner.
No comment.
Whoa. Council Member Getz.
I'm not going to break it. No comment.
Wow. Council Member Duria.
I'm gonna make a comment. Just a couple of things. Just wanted to say, attended the 100 Black Women banquet this weekend. My first time, and it was a really nice event. Also, the BU basketball team had an event at the Sarah Street Wellness Center. Another very nice event. Make sure y'all go to the fair. That's it.
Nothing, Mayor.
Look, I couldn't even get it out. Okay, so I am going to follow behind Councilmember Durio and say the same thing, that I also attended 100 Black Women annual banquet. It was very, very nice. Full house, and also Sarah Street Wellness put on a community event for Beaumont United. It was well attended. Everything was free, and I must say that Mr. Troy Marsall has kept his commitment to utilizing that facility, not only for a medical facility for the community, but also to give back to the community. He's very, very involved in everything that has been going on in the community since turning it into a medical facility. And again, Southeast Texas State Fair, please go out. Go out tonight, because I believe it's supposed to rain tomorrow, and hopefully the rain will end by the evening, but it will be here until Sunday. So please go out and support Southeast Texas State Fair. It only comes once a year, and they give back in such a big way to our community. We will recess into executive session. Thank each and every one of you for coming out, and go out and spread the love. Thank you.